Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Pinery Boys.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red bombs bursting in air gave through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Pinery Boys. Also on our log rolling and boom running dock, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we would like to welcome our announcer for our log rolling, boom running, and speed climbing competition. Please give a big warm welcome for...
We have gone one size down,
bright and early,
and who we got?
and we've had some incredible matches so far. But
We got Connor Birdsong and
I think that might be Nick Magnoni.
Magnoni, yes.
on their opponent's feet, because that's where they'll figure out what direction their opponent
Two guys
love to go.
pretty
And they're kicking
close
their heel very strong.
in size and strength. Sometimes you see there's a shorter, more, well, I would say a powder keg kind of athlete, but both these guys pretty tall rollers. What's their strength or balance here?
Yeah, you know, with Nick, he's a little more aggressive.
Okay.
You know, now Nick doesn't have the pure raw power that Claire does relative to her opponents, if you will.
Okay.
But he's more aggressive. If you watch Nick right now on the right, well, you got the women right there now, but Nick is really aggressive, where Connor's going to try and withstand it like he did right there.
Yep.
And kind of hang in there and let Nick try and pull himself in.
Yeah. To me, the fury of feet is the most amazing part of this. I don't know what triggers it, but then they go. We got a good go in the ladies' match. Claire a little off balance and gathers, and then she puts Katie in.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about before. You know, Katie knows what she's doing out there. She can sort of anticipate things, but if you watch this front step, look at that. Pulls it right in.
Yep.
You'll see it in a second here, and she's just pulling. See, Claire's only going one way,
Yeah.
like a locomotive.
Yeah.
And that raw power she's got, once you get on there and she starts churning and driving and pulling like that, almost nobody can sustain it, and you saw it right there.
Yeah, and then Katie.
So Katie's basic objective here is to keep it going back and forth, avoid letting Claire get that kind of momentum, and just kind of hang in there. And again, perhaps let Claire wear herself down.
Yeah. That was amazing.
So you've kind of seen both ends of this thing now.
Yeah.
You know, where Katie kind of caught her before, and that time Claire kind of got churning and started pulling, and once she gets that power going, it's hard to stop.
What you say about a locomotive, that part of watching this, you'll see somebody take control of the log, and it seems sort of odd to say take control of something that you only have your feet on.
And what you're going to see in this guys match right now that we're watching, Nick on the right, again, a little more bent down, you see that style, and he's the aggressor. Connor on the left, and there you see a splash there. Connor's a veteran.
Yep.
He's been doing this 4 or 5 years. Connor's one of the more conditioned guys on the circuit. But you see there, good aggressive fall there for him. Connor's got great endurance. He was a terrific long-distance runner, a college long-distance runner. And, you know, he's got to withstand those, though.
Going back to the ladies' log here, even at a fall apiece, if you can see in a close look of their feet, these look like soccer spikes, but these are soccer spikes that have had ultimately the cleats removed. And out west, I live in Colorado. Farther west, you get into Oregon, Washington, California, the corked boots that people wear to either poke into the thick bark or to walk
spikes,
in the slippery side. So these are sharpened, not golf spikes or track spikes, but logging spikes. So they got the flexibility of an athletic shoe to hold the log, but also the strength to grab a hold of it.
Yeah, the grip obviously on the wooden log there, whole different story than a carpet log when they have tennis shoes.
Yeah.
And they are sharp spikes. There you go. And like I said before, Katie was able to avoid letting Claire getting going with that front step.
Yeah,
she kept the log going back and forth, kind of like a finesse boxer, kind of just stick and jab, and that's how you're going to beat a powerful boxer, and Katie did a great job of it right there.
Taking the lead 2-1. Back to the guys' match. Believe that'll bring us even at 2?
All right, we have a tie.
Yes, 2 apiece. So next fall,
Ready for our second heat of the 60.
Yeah, best of 5, so next fall gets it.
next
And
fall wins.
there's nothing like a 5-fall match. That 5th fall is pretty exciting. And
Yeah.
listen, these guys are rolling right now to get to the semifinals.
Yes.
Here. So we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. Both of them are ranked in the top 5. Both of them are among the better rollers on the circuit. So, yeah, big 5th fall coming up.
Every 15-foot line on the
And the stakes, it's not a one and done like it appears or like it feels with some of the chopping and sawing. It's bracketed. It's sort of like the March Madness based on the
You
seeding
got it.
in.
that top 60-foot line and just
And so they still have at least 2 matches or 3 matches if they're going to be a world champion on Saturday.
a lot of other things. So we're ready.
And quarterfinals today, semifinals later today, finals tomorrow.
And finals.
So 3 more wins.
3 more matches, Lord.
Wisconsin, his first time.
We have another heat of the 60-foot traditional climb. Devin Blair coming to us from Winter, Wisconsin, not too far down the road. And Tristan Van Beek, owner of one of the finest mustaches in all of timber sports.
Newburgh, Oregon.
An athlete coming to us from Oregon who's been making the rounds as a lumberjack entertainer, one of the true sources of positive energy in the sport. Happy to put in the time and log the hours for the sport.
3, 2, 1, go.
They are on the 90-foot poles, but they're only going to the 60-foot line. You see the red line that they approach. Devin with brief lead, and he makes the last throw. His rope crosses, and he takes a more cautious down. Closer finish at the end. Look like Devin's got the W there. We do have the last fall on the guys log, but I didn't see who was it.
Connor Birdsong took it.
Birdsong will advance.
Yeah, great finish there in that one. No doubt about it. Connor pumped his fist, pretty fired up.
Yes. To me, it also is, I think, exciting to see the enthusiasm for personal accomplishment, but the genuine hug or the embrace, the encouragement of the other people. When you're traveling around the United States with the same folks, it's good to win, but these are your family. These are your people. So Birdsong will advance.
And like I said, these guys and the women as well, really the top-ranked men and women are facing each other all the time.
Yes.
In the semis and the quarterfinals and, of course, in the finals. So they do get to know each other stylistically pretty well. And on a personal level, like you said, you can't help but get to know the people that you're competing against.
We're going to transition back here to the chopping and sawing dock. We've got the ladies' underhand. If you imagine you fall a tree in the woods, you've got to cut it to length. Bring out your axe, mark where you want, stand and swing between your feet. We got from Canada, Stephanie Node, Kate Witkowski on stand 2. She lives literally just around the corner, can walk here in about 5 minutes. Andrea Card coming to us from California on 3. On station 4, entrepreneur, athlete, and globetrotter, fresh off a national championship win last weekend, Erin Lavoie. From Nakusa, Wisconsin, we've got Sarah Golnick.
And at station 6 from Lake Clear, New York.
And coming to us from New York, we've got Kate Snyder. Keep an eye on this far end, Stephanie and Kate, dedicated axemen with slightly different styles. Station 4 here, Erin Lavoie, always ferocious in this. She might be keeping a little bit in the tank, though.
2, 1, go.
Stephanie Node, extremely tall and blows a huge slab off her log to start. They've got an 11-inch piece of aspen underneath their feet. They flatten the areas they want to chop into. And they've got chainmail in their socks like a knight in shining armor. Stephanie's made the turn, and she's got big chips. Kate Witkowski right with her, and Erin Lavoie half a swing behind. Stephanie's, yeah, she's driving and she's off. That was a brilliant cut. Stephanie Node. She was 2 rotations ahead of anybody else. A good piece of wood. Lavoie off briefly after. Kate and Andrea just a swing behind. These are not the axes that you may have grown up with in scouting. These come to us from New Zealand and Australia and are honed to be razor sharp. And Sarah Golnick to round out the field there. If you look at what's on the stage, comparing the pile of chips compared to the sawdust, we use chainsaws now because it is so much more efficient in terms of what's left afterwards. Wood chips,
pretty
every
amazing
place.
what these athletes can do. It really is. I'm watching this thing, and I've watched it for years and years now, and it amazes me every single time. Erin Lavoie's been coming here for years, and you know the names. And especially some of these women, they're not that big, and you think, all right, let's see how this works out. And I'll tell you what, the power, and not just the power, the technique, the way they're able to hit right in a certain spot and just crush that wood. A lot of it's about the tactical approach as well.
Yep, absolutely. People always see these things, and as you say, it's like when I split wood in my firewood pile.
Whole different story, right?
Yep. Now we've evened at 2 in the ladies' log. We're going across the pond.
Yeah, Claire Keach just got a fall on Katie Rick, it appears, and I know I've said it a bunch of times, but when Claire gets that, when she gets that front step going like that, and that's exactly what she did, and gets it churning, it's just so hard to recover. And, Katie's trying to avoid that. Like I said, she's trying to go back and forth.
Yeah.
She's trying to stretch this thing out, but I think Claire just got locked in and got that puppy going, and Katie went right in.
As a roller, if the other athlete is stronger than you and takes control, are you thinking in your mind, try and just ride the lightning? Or are you going to try and get into a horsepower battle and try and steal it back so you're running forward?
I think the biggest thing is to avoid it in the first place. If you're rolling somebody like Claire Keach, for example, here, once you get caught, it's like getting caught with a Mike Tyson punch at his prime. There's no coming back from it, really.
Yeah, you're done.
You're done. And I've talked to a lot of rollers about this. You have to avoid getting into it, which is not impossible. If you keep the log going back and forth, front step, back step, and it's kind of a back and forth herky-jerky, it's hard for her to get her momentum going. And Claire is not going to get out there and be the best backstepper out there. That's the thing. She's a one-trick pony, but it's a powerful trick.
Yes.
And she's so athletic. So that really you have to avoid getting into that or you're in trouble.
Gotcha. We've got Sam Polentini and Shane Burns on the blue dock in the gentlemen's match. Polentini, I think right, the brothers have been making a good run.
Yeah, he's
historically.
Sam is the younger brother of Anthony Polentini. Anthony, two-time defending world champion. And it's interesting, Sam's a very different roller. First of all, as you can probably tell, you'll see when they get back on the log and we get back to the men, Sam is 6'7".
Yes.
And it's a legit 6'7". He's a high-end volleyball player. He's playing collegially at Wisconsin. So you're talking about he's 6'7", and he can churn it really good.
Yeah.
Anthony's a lot different. Anthony's about 6 foot, give or take.
Okay.
And Anthony's got the whole package. He's been doing this for a number of years. Sam's a little bit younger, but different styles. But this match right here, I'll tell you about these guys here in a bit. But with the women, as we see here, it's come down to this fall here.
Yes. And we were tied at 2, and it looks like Katie Burke will advance.
Yeah, she got it. And I mentioned this earlier on. Katie did a good job in this match of just keeping it going.
Yeah, staying in the fight.
Sometimes you just got to let a really aggressive opponent wear themselves out. And you can see here, I think Katie is got a little bit more in the tank at this point. She knows she's got her, waits for a spot, and bam, just a quick little pull there. And at that point, Katie, I think, has a little more energy, a little more gas in the tank. Great job by Katie Burke. Again, tactical, smart roller, used it in that one. The veteran, who's a little smaller, not as strong, found a way to beat the bigger, stronger, younger opponent there.
Yeah, and amazing, as you said, that little gather, outlasting it in the fight, make the jab, and keep going. A couple of the guys have gone for these big boots of water, these big kicks.
Yeah.
Strategically, some people seem to go to that as a competitive mindset. Some people just leave it be. Well, it's legal, but what's a good rule of thumb if you have one for this?
What you're going to see in this match, and I'll answer your question, but Shane Burns, who's the shorter of the two, Shane's probably close to 6 foot, but as I said, Sam's 6'7", so Shane probably is one of the best splashers, it's called,
Yeah.
on the circuit.
Okay.
And what Shane can do, he can really, he's not just splashing the water
Yeah.
wildly, he can directionally splash
Yeah,
it.
do it with purpose.
And the goal is, and you see Shane on the left there, as we fade away from it, but he can tactically get that water in Sam's eye. That's what he's trying to do.
It gives mind off the roll.
Exactly. So you splash it, and then you attack on the log. And it's a technique not a lot of people use, but Shane's really good at it.
Reaches down and gives the swing. We're going to go back to the 60-foot climb. We've got Chet Isaacson and Sean Yokoyama. Sean coming to us and Chet coming to us from literally all over the world here.
Yeah, Sean's a Vancouver guy.
Yes.
And he's another one of these guys who's going to be all over the Lumberjack ball. He will log roll. He'll be up here. He'll be all over the place.
Yeah, that is awesome. To me, what you said about athletes, Sam, a good run. They're about even, making the last throw. You see that Sean down first. You saw very different styles compared to our first heats, the big bailout and the hips, these guys going cautiously. But cycling back to what you said about being an athlete, there's a very different skill set required for each one of these disciplines that you see. And some people have a high level of specialization, some people do not. But some of these guys are literally going to be all over.
Well, it's amazing. You know, a guy like Caleb Graves, I mean,
Yes.
you know, he's all over the place, and he does them well. Or a guy like Cassidy Shear.
Cassidy, absolutely.
Who might be, you know, he's 41 years old,
Yes.
but he can still do it all.
Yes.
And, you know, none of them are great at everything, but if you're good enough at some,
Yeah.
and you have a couple that you're really good at, like Cassidy,
Yes.
you can win the whole thing. You can win the Tony Wise, the all-around event.
Yes, and that as you said, the consistency across board. Sam Polentini taking the lead.
Yeah, and what you're seeing right there is, and again, I know I've said it a couple of times, but Sam's a tall, lanky roller. He's 6'7", and a little bit like I talked about before with Claire on the women's side. Once he gets that front step going, you know, he's 6'7", and you see the physique. You'll see when they get back on the log there. Those long levers really produce a lot of power and get that log going. Now, Sam is not going to be as twitchy as other log rollers who are shorter or more compact, but he gets that thing going, and it's pretty hard. It really is. And Shane's got a tough situation here. You know, he's down 2-1. I think Shane probably is a better all-around log roller, but Sam brings that power and a kind of a tenacity, and he's tough to beat. He really is.
And then going up 2-1, does the mindset of the match change? Do you take different risks?
I would say a little bit. It'll be interesting to see if Shane uses that splash now. You know, Shane on your left there, he's down 2-1, and he likes to use that splash, but I'm not sure if we're going to see it here. He's more in defense mode here at this point, just trying to stay in
the log.
That's a great fall there, and Shane did just enough to hang in there. And, ooh.
And they're calling a draw.
Wow.
Draw. Wow.
Wow. Well, I'm not sure what to say.
The crowd, yes.
I'm not sure what to say there. It looked like Shane very comfortably won this fall, but let's see. I could be wrong. These judges are pretty good at what they do.
Now, folks, it is not necessarily when exactly.
What is the rule of engagement here? It's not when they land.
It's last foot on the log, last sole to touch, sole of the foot. And I'll tell you, it's not an easy job to be down there judging. You know, we get to watch it in slow motion.
Yes.
They have a half second to make a call, but it very much looked like Shane Burns probably won that fall there. But it's tough, man. I mean, these judges have a tough job to do. You got some good ones down there for sure, but it appeared that Shane Burns didn't just win that fall, but comfortably won it. I don't know what they saw there, to be honest.
If I'm thinking right, on this on the USLRA social media, there was, I don't know if it was a finals match, but there was an amazing picture. I think that it was a fifth fall, and one of the athletes was completely perpendicular to the log, falling into the water.
Well, Shane got that one.
And Shane got that one without a doubt.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a mock cheer from the crowd here,
yes.
at least in front of us here, I think.
Yes.
And you watch the replay there, and you see Shane trying to keep it short and quick. He's not going for much here, just hanging in there. Now they start pulling, and Shane's got a lot of power as well, even though he's not as big, and he just kind of grinded that one out with his front step.
what you said about the twitch. If you're 6'7", that's a lot of leg. It can make a strong throw when it makes it, but there's a lot of stuff moving.
A lot of stuff moving. It's hard to go back and forth at that size. Now, Sam's pretty good at it.
Yes,
I mean, he abnormally has that strong core for a tall guy. You know, we'll see Tanner Hallett later on, who's the same way.
Yeah.
So this thing's far from over, and I'll tell you what, we've seen some really close ones so far on both sides, and looks like we got a classic fifth fall here.
Yeah, another one. This is, to me, what you said from the beginning of how the field is. Nobody's just waltzing their way to the championship, taking 5 falls here.
You can see when that log speeds up how it starts to go under the water.
You know, one thing, if a guy's arm starts waving like an airport control guy, he's in trouble.
Yes.
That's when someone's really in trouble. But their arms are pretty solid. See Sam's arms going? Oh. Both go down. And that one, very, very close, goes to Sam.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you watch, if we get a replay here, Sam's foot looked like it just barely hung on a little bit longer. So it's not who hits the water first, it's whose foot touches last. Watch Sam on the right. 6'7", big guy. Watch his foot as they start to struggle. Just kind of hangs in there, just enough, and chain goes in. Look at that.
Yep.
So he was on there for a half second. Excellent call by the official there on a tight one. You know, when that water's going, that white water's going, it's really hard as a judge, and they got that one right.
Got that right, and the log is barely out of the water. That's the other part that again, watching from the distance, holy cow, and they're spinning it against each other. We're going to go back to another heat of the climb. We've got Zach Ray. And coming to us from Watertown, Wisconsin, Cameron Pilgreen. Pilgreen on the right, Ray and his mustache on the left.
Love the mustache. Yeah, he's rocking that thing tonight, isn't he?
He's been proud.
Not messing around with that.
This is our last heat of the 60. They're dead heat to 40. Even up. Ray just edging him, but it doesn't stop the time till he gets down. Zach Ray and Cameron Pilgreen just behind him. Watching the climb, it is 2 spikes and 1 rope, and that part of navigating this is amazing. They make the conviction to make their last throw, and then the time does not stop till they get down. We're going to be transitioning to the boom run. This is one of the things that literally crosses the bowl.
One of the great events of the Lumberjack World Championships, isn't it? This is a lot of fun. And you get a lot of log rollers that will boom run as well.
Yes.
Those two tend to go hand in hand. Now, there are some. Charlie Fenton is one. He's not much of a log roller, but he's a great boom runner. He might be the best boom runner. But generally, a lot of the log rollers you've seen so far will also be boom running.
Yes. And to me, I have to admit, John, the first time that I came to Lumberjack Bowl and they told me that this is what was going to happen, that they are going to start on the stage, run across the logs, make the turn, and run back across the same logs, I said, no way. But in the woods, these strings of logs would be used to keep the harvest together so that it could be floated down to the mill. And so people would have been doing this professionally.
Well, I'll give you a little tip here. You see on your right, one of the best boom runners of all time.
Yes,
right there. And on the left, you got Katie Burke, who's very, very good. She came in second last year.
Yes.
So these are 2 of the better boom runners we're going to see out here over the course of the entire night. But Abby Delaney on your right has won 6 boom run world championships, and she won her first one 18 years ago.
18 years ago, yes.
She is really, really good. But you know what? Katie, who we saw log roll earlier on, she'll be right there.
Yes.
She hasn't won one of these, but Katie's very, very good on the boom. So these are 2 of the best boom runners among the women we'll see tonight.
Yes.
There's about 4 really, really good ones, and these are 2 of the top 4 right here.
Top of the field.
But watch Abby on your right. She can motor.
Yep.
Now, again, 18 years ago she won one, and she's going for number 7 this year.
Going for number 7, 18 years later. What a great testament to commitment to the sport. So they make the transition off. you see in this first heat, the logs are wet on the bottom and dry on the top. The fastest times barely move those logs. And you see Abby Heschler with a red headband. Most of her logs are still dry, and she's back.
And I'll emphasize, too, what Katie Burke just did was fantastic. That was a great run. That's how fast Abby is.
Yes.
Well, speaking of great boom runners.
Yes. Coming off of injury and hungry to get back. She's been chasing Alyssa Frank. And with the white shoes, we got Maddie Lyons.
And Meredith won 5 out of 7. She's really, really good. But like you said, 3 years she's been injured, coming back from a pretty serious foot injury. And she's looked pretty good this weekend, warming up, so we'll see.
An athlete par excellence, a hockey player, in addition to her world championship runs here. Make the turn.
That's a tough fall for Meredith.
Yep. Maddie Lyons keeps it together and finishes a clean run. Athletes can remount the boom. Time is still running.
Right.
And to me, just getting on the boom by itself.
Yeah, I think, the bigger point here is for Meredith, she'll get one more crack.
Yep.
You get 2 runs on the boom. Every competitor gets to run both sides once. So I think Meredith just got some. You'll see it right here. She just kind of got caught on the side.
Yep.
Ends up in the drink. At this point, she knows it's over.
Yeah.
She's here to win. She's not here to get a decent time
Yep.
on this particular run. So she'll have to kind of go for it next time.
Yep.
But Meredith is going to be in this thing, I believe.
Yes.
She'll get one more crack at this, and I wouldn't count her out.
Sam LaSalle on the left with the black shoes. And who we got on the right, John? I missed.
That's Olivia Judd.
Olivia Judd.
Yep.
2 athletes who've been competing here for not quite 18 years, but a large portion of their respective
Pretty close,
lives.
yep. Pretty close.
Olivia, an attorney by trade. Sam Hadley, navigating the world of lumberjack entertainment with Timberworks. Clean run by Olivia.
Excellent run by Olivia right there. And, we've talked about some of these other great boom runners. Olivia is very consistent. She doesn't show up as a top 2, top 3 boom runner, but almost always top 5 or 6.
Yes.
And she never seems to fall. Olivia is very consistent, runs good times. So Olivia is the kind of boom runner where if a couple people struggle, we saw Meredith fall. If a couple of the big dogs fall, Olivia could take this thing because she's very consistent. You see this run on the right here. Great job by Olivia Judd.
Keeping on the center line of those logs.
And on the blue boom, our current world champion in this event, Claudia Duffy.
We've got Claudia Duffy in the orange shoes by the blue boom and Ellie Davenport. 2 names that we expect to see doing well on the log rolling side of things after we get the boom underway.
No question about it. In fact, they're going to face each other
Head to head.
later on in the log. Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, watch Claudia on your right here. She won this event last year, her first time winning it. And she's a boom runner who has gotten progressively better every year. Just kind of has gradually snuck in the back door. And last year took the title. And watch her on the right there run. Get in some trouble. Oh, that's a tough fall. And Ellie able to finish it. So for Claudia, just like Meredith, it's kind of like, okay, hit the side, tough step. She'll get another shot at this. I would not count her out.
So she took the swim, and you're saying rather than wasting the time and energy getting back on the boom.
Yeah, I mean, at this level, when you get to the best of the best, at this point you're done. You're not. This time means nothing. They're here to win it. They're not here to qualify anymore. They're here to actually win it. So she'll get another shot, and I think she'll be pretty good. And Claudia's sister Lily's pretty good as well.
Yes. Lily Duffy running solo here.
Nobody to pace her, and that's how the math works out once in a while.
And no brave volunteers from the crowd either.
Yeah, that wouldn't last long.
No. Staying centered, fast feet, quick to the barrel. She makes the turn and just right down the middle of those logs.
I'll tell you what, Adrian, one big advantage there is logs aren't moving much. You know, you have only one roller. The logs aren't moving that much.
Yeah.
She's got nobody to pace her. But even in the slow motion, watch how still those logs are ahead of
Yes.
her. They're barely moving.
Yes.
And you go back and look at what happened to Meredith and Claudia, and that's really what they got caught up on, some logs that just were kind of funky in the tide.
Yeah.
And Lily didn't have to worry as much about it.
Yeah, amazing to take. We are in a natural bowl here. The other athletes do have an impact on you. This is not a perfect pool where we've computer modulated the waves that impact each other. Amazing point. Good point. So they're going to run once on each boom. The top times then are going to get the chance to run on each boom in the finals.
Well, what they'll do is they'll narrow it down to 4
Okay.
for both the men and the women. So in a sense, and I said this is not qualifying, but in a sense, it does. It's part of the show tonight.
Yes.
And it sort of serves as a qualifier, if you will. They'll take the top 4 who will advance to championship Saturday tomorrow.
And they'll get to run on both booms.
Same thing. Yep.
Same
thing. They'll run on both sides tomorrow. And so basically it's survival. You're trying to get to tomorrow, and then you start over.
Gotcha.
And that's why I said in Meredith's case, in Claudia's case, they'll get one more crack. They don't have to be number 1 tonight or number 2, but you got to crack the top 4.
Gotcha. We're going to be coming back to the chopping and sawing stage here with a standing block like you're following the tree in the woods. Defending national champion Matt Koger from West Virginia. Billy Cornelius and his beard, a forester and nursery manager. Nate Hodges here, entrepreneur and all-around hustler. Adam Lethko, a guy who always in the fight, not a big man, been running the hot saw, just set a world record in the hot saw. We got Jesse Cutting and Mark Boquin on the far stand. I'm going to keep an eye on Matt Koger on stand 1. He has been chopping out of his mind.
3, 2, 1, go.
They got a piece of 14-inch lathe-turned aspen. May have heard a thump before the start. Pattern of drives and chips into the log to let that axe get deep in. Nate Hodges on the turn. He is a powder keg of a guy, big and strong, not tall, but he's always got turbo. Matt Koger's got his log flexing. First to turn, not always first to win. Matt Koger, 7-time national champion, reclaimed his crown. The athletes you see competing head-to-head here, their time relative to each other will give them the chance to race tomorrow. 14-inch log, big piece of wood. So, good run by Matt. He is a guy who has had the sort of the peace of mind and the mental toughness. A guy who, I don't want to say sneaks around because he's a big presence, but getting his mind right with the chopping and sawing. Nate Hodges, all the way here from California. He's been on an extended road trip, making the rounds for the national championships in Arkansas last week. And as I said, Adam Lethko with a black bucket hat, a good run with the hot saw. Time 4.6 seconds, which you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. So we are going to be going to the men's rolling on the blue stage. Caleb Graves, a name that you remember from the climb, and Tanner Hallett, another of our, I will say, skyscraper athletes here. Guys who, Tanner's background here, I feel like it's training camp time in the Northwoods. If things don't work out, we can send him over to the Packers because their receiver room, if you've been watching the news, we're always worrying. Caleb and Tanner, very different body styles, very different approaches to the log. We got Emily Christofferson with the hat and Livy Papadopoulos. Again, two very different athletes defending, world champions on each log. And we will see how things unfold. Tanner Hallett taking the first fall on the gentleman's log. Emily Christofferson and Livy Papadopoulos has not been a professional for very long and has been making a strong showing in the sport. Emily Christofferson, a name that I hear in the fight or in the fold at the top of the field, but has not yet pulled the national championship, the world championship win here up at Hayward. This is the point in the roll that I watch, and it looks like we're weighing each other out, seeing what the other person wants to do, taking stake of the dance. We've got a running match on the gentleman's log. They're rolling the same way so they can pick up the pace with the cadence. The ladies' log, we're just going back and forth. This is going to be, I think, on the ladies' log, a little bit of wait and see. And they have timed out. There is a time allocation, and the diameter of the log will change. They will go to a smaller diameter, which changes the rolling dynamics. Tanner Hallett putting Caleb Graves in. Up 2-0 on Caleb Graves. Caleb Graves, another guy who's been making the rounds around the bowl. A balance, but I always wonder, Cassidy Shear, a guy who has been competing at the top tier in many of these disciplines. It's the end of a long, hot day in the North Woods here. Hope Caleb still got something in the tank, being down 2-0 to Mr. Tanner. Tanner's dad, coach and artist, very active in the log rolling community, always been gracious with his time, and has, I don't want to say taught me everything I know, but has always been kind and patient with my ears and eyes as a rookie to the log rolling. The log is steady and they push out. Quick run, and Tanner spits him right off. Tanner Hallett will take the lead and the match, 3-0. Good work for that young man. Had a big win last week against the older Polentini, chasing the elusive number of titles before his 21st birthday. Maybe another match with him in his future. We got Emily and Livy. They have gone down to the smaller log, and you'll see the athletes are going towards. Livy takes control and will go up 1-0. We had a little bit of feet chop at the end. Interested to see on the replay. Emily, one of our tallest lady athletes, can make a big throw on that. Livy is extremely powerful. Livy takes control. Yep. Gave her one quick boot and into the speed climbing up to that 60-foot line. Give a hand for him from Minneapolis, Minnesota. We are going to roll out the next gentleman's match. Cassidy Shear, who literally grew up in the Lumberjack Bowl. And he will be rolling against, also from Minneapolis, Minnesota, now residing in Minneapolis, Anthony Polentini, the Polentini who has been on a tear in the men's log rolling ranks. You're going to see all these athletes or all these events contested individually, but on championship Saturday, points are going to be awarded for each finish in each of these events, and an all-around is going to be awarded based on these performances. Cassidy trying to keep, as a very, very balanced athlete at 41, keep his toes in all of the ponds. But he reached for a boot of water, and he took a swim. And so Livy is going up in the ladies' match, up 2. Taking a moment, going back to get a drink and otherwise. Gather and get their mind right. I always think it's funny that they dry off, because I know at least one of them is going to be going for a swim. But I don't get to do that. Anthony Polentini and Cassie Shear pushing out again.
Likes to kick water to try to upset his opponents. So
see the brim.
Big cap to try to shield that water from his face.
Cass, ooh, that was.
Let's see from our judges here.
They're calling that a draw. Again, in that white water, the last sole on. These matches are going to be ongoing in the background. We are going to change onto the chopping and sawing stage. Jill and Jill sawing. Stephanie Node and Andrea Card, Canada and California.
Alex Miller.
We've got
Hannah Quigley.
Alex Miller and Hannah Quigley.
At stand 3.
Stand 3, Meredith Ingebrigtsen and Sam LaSalle, 2 Hayward natives. We've got Laura Helmick and Sarah Golnick, 2 athletes who came up through the collegiate ranks, and defending champions Kate Witkowski and Erin Lavoie. You'll notice athletes or teams have a second on the stage. Keep an eye on those, either the stand 1 or stand 5 here. Erin and Kate can rip off these Jill and Jill cuts. The second up there, spraying oil on the saw to keep the gullets clean. Got a good cadence from Kate and Erin. They're into the short wood, but Stephanie and Andrea are right there with them. And they're, that was a dead heat. Absolutely a dead heat. Kate and Erin running around this week in a brand new Ford pickup because of their defending championship stance. JP Mercier on stand 1 saw manufacturer and filer from Quebec. Always wants to keep a close eye on his tools as they're getting put to use. Good run for those folks. Top 6 teams are going to move on to tomorrow for Championship Sunday. And my eyes could not keep up fast enough. It's a good thing we've got the electronic timing going to make sure that everybody has a fair shot to become a world champion. Anthony Polentini is up 2-1 on Cassidy Shear. Cassidy grew up in Hayward, now residing in the cities.
Yeah, you know, I mentioned this earlier on about Claire Keach, knockout puncher. Well, Cassidy Shear is the ultimate knockout puncher. You're not going to go real long with him. He's not going to go long with you, but he's just looking to drop haymakers.
Yep.
And let me tell you something about Anthony Polentini. He doesn't lose very many falls. Forget about matches.
Sure.
He almost never loses matches, but he rarely loses falls. And the fact that Cassidy's got a fall on him makes this thing pretty interesting. Cassidy's not going to go real long with anybody, but I'll tell you what, he has a very, very powerful pull on that front step, kind of like Claire Keach on the women's side, and he'll surprise some people. He's on the right, big, strong guy.
Yeah.
Anthony on the left, probably the best log roller on the planet right now. See, Cassidy's hanging in there, though, and obviously the longer it goes, the more likely it goes to Anthony.
Favors, yeah.
And, you know, I mentioned this earlier on, talked about some of these rollers who have a great back step. Others have a great front step, and then you got your powerhouses. Anthony's everything. He's got perhaps the best back step, probably for sure the most powerful front step among the men. He can hang in there forever.
Right.
He can roll big rollers, small rollers. Anthony won 11 tournaments in a row before last week, before he lost in the finals to Tanner Hallett. Right.
Yeah.
So you're talking about one of the best we've seen maybe in a generation.
Wow.
And you know, when I say that, I mean the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Since J.R. Salzman and Darren Hudson and Jamie Fisher retired, Anthony's been the most successful since that point, for sure.
And he is only the ripe old age of...
He'll be 21 next week.
Dang.
Yeah, he's as young as it gets and as good as it gets at this point in a career. He's something else.
Yeah, which is
but not
tremendous.
easy, man. Cassidy makes it tough for just about anybody.
Yeah, and what you say about the haymakers, that part of the approach and the strategy. You know, he's going to drop bombs. He's going to hack away and give it a big kick.
Yeah, see Anthony on the left there. He withstands the splash, and Cassidy just can't hang on with him that long. I mean, it's probably a 5 to 10 second shelf life where Cassidy's going to hang in there with a guy like Anthony. But because Cassidy's so powerful, he can hit you with one once in a while, and that's why you got Anthony earlier on. But time will always favor a guy like Anthony in a match like that, though. The longer it goes, the more chance Anthony's going to have in that situation.
And uses his strengths.
Yep.
We're going to transition back to the chopping and sawing stage. We got the springboard chop starting on the ground. These athletes are going to climb the Lumberjack elevator. Ben Marshall on the right, Adam LaSalle on 2. And the rest of our athletes are going to gradually or magically appear around the back of the pole. They've marked out where they intend to cut their pocket, which they are then going to put the springboard into. The end of the clip grabs a hold.
Then they're going to repeat.
Ben Hansen, local forester, an all-around hard-working guy, recently engaged to another Lumberjill. So congratulations to him. And he's got a good climb. Nice flat board on the top. He's got 12 inches of and a beautiful piece of wood.
Each competitor only gets one.
Same pattern in and out. She drives and chips, moving the axe in and out of that block. Looks like he's got a little bit firmer after he got 2 rotations in. The wizard has climbed up and is right up into that tree. If the athletes don't trust their board set, they will not step out on it. Keep that leverage to a minimum. After they get about 3/4 of the way through the front of this log, athletes are going to turn around and switch hit. The problem is they can't get off of that board. They've got to keep the axe moving where they are and either switch hit with their off hand, their non-dominant hand, or put in some driving blows and chopping off the back. Adam LaSalle has opened up something he doesn't like in that block. Ben Marshall is tucked right into that 12-inch block. That is going to make your hands scream. Ben Hansen's on the turn. You see he's chopping with his offhand. He's just turned his hips like the baseball player approaches from the right side or the left side. 12-inch piece of wood. Those back last fibers are ways away from you. He reaches out, cuts that free. Ben Marshall coming to us. Ben Marshall coming to us and shutting her down.
Ben Marshall has decided to quit also. How about a hand for those 3 guys? Unfortunately, Adam and Ben, but Ben Hansen.
Earlier I said these axes so thin, so fine. That's what makes them go fast in the softwood. Adam stopped there. These trees were not grown in a laboratory. They are harvested from the wood, and so sometimes you find a surprise.
What an entertainment event that is, man.
Yeah.
The skill it takes and the guts it takes. You got to be a little crazy, too, I think, to get up there.
You got to be a little, and in particular here, you can see a little bit from the perspective. The back of, if your top board is over the back of the stage, you're looking down and you can see some muskies. We got another ladies match going here on the red stage.
Yeah, Haley Miller on your left there, who just won that fall. Haley's been rolling well. She really is. This is a quarterfinal match. She's rolling Shauna Verstegen. And you watch on the left there, Haley just kind of hangs in there, waits, and tries to pick a spot. Watch that. There's the spot, gets that front step going. Shauna withstands one of them and then quickly snaps a back step, and Shauna just couldn't quite adjust to it.
And couldn't change direction quickly.
You got it.
Shauna, another name. I met Shauna when I was a student at UW. She has been competing at a top level for the last
25 years.
Yeah.
Most of these women are between 20 and 30 years old. Shauna's been doing it for 20-plus years, and she's ranked 3rd in the world.
Right.
She's won 4 world titles and one of the best to ever roll competitively, and she's got her work cut out for her.
Got a tough draw here, absolutely. We've got on the blue stage.
Yeah, Ellie Davenport on your left has won a world championship.
Yep.
Number 2 seed in this event. And on the right there, you see Claudia Duffy, who has been rolling better and better as the season has gone on. A little bit of a sort of dark horse maybe to make a run to tomorrow night to roll in the finals or the 3-4 match. But she's rolled a lot better the last couple of weeks. She had a really, really good showing up in Wausau earlier this month. Now you got Ellie on the left, who's a highly decorated log roller. She has won the 1 world title, but she's been rolling successfully for a number of years now. She's been in the finals 4 times.
Yes.
So Ellie's the favorite on your left there. A real good chance she'll make a run to the finals here. Ellie, lightning quick feet. Here's the thing about Ellie. She has an ability to sort of defy gravity. That's kind of her MO. You'll see her rolling off that log in trouble. And there have been times when her opponents will just stop thinking they've won the fall, and Ellie climbs right back up.
Wow.
She defies gravity. She's got a really strong ability as she's going down to dig those spikes in you talked about and just climb right back up, and really does kind of defy gravity. She's got an incredible balance up there, even relative to these other great rollers. So Ellie on your left, she can create a little magic every once in a while up there.
No.
And that time she just kind of hung tight.
Yeah.
That time Ellie just kind of was patient, waited, found a spot, and drops Claudia in.
Our women's match on the red dot.
Kind of an awkward hokey pokey. Looks like she
Haley Miller currently 2 falls to 1.
got out of her base.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Ellie was about to deliver a big back step, and Claudia just lost her balance and just went right in. So Sean on your right in some trouble, and that's going to be a close call. And if it does not go Verstegen's way, it's over for her. And that's it. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Don't sleep on Haley Miller. She has kind of snuck in the back door the last couple of years, had some good events, has not won a pro tournament yet. But you watch Haley on the left there with that front step, just drove it really hard, and then Shauna couldn't quite adjust when it went to the back step, and she goes right in. So really big win for Haley Miller.
Quality win, and what you said, volume and the frequency of the weekend, not just one and done, the chance to have another race.
Yeah, this will be the first time, by the way, that Miller goes to a semifinal. She's never been there before.
Wow.
So this is the deepest she's ever been as a pro.
Big milestone for her. And the pride of, we're going to crown world champions tomorrow. That is an honor and being written in the record books, not to be taken lightly.
Championship Saturday. It's
Yes.
creeping up on us.
Yes.
So you got Davenport on your left here again, up 1-0, and she is the more accomplished roller. Ellie with the pink hat. Again, she's made it to the finals 4 times here. She's won a world title. She's won 14 pro events.
Wow.
Duffy has never won an event on your right, but again, Claudia Duffy has been rolling very well of late. And her dad, Brian Duffy, a 5-time world champion, so she comes from some great lineage.
Yes. And to me, the part of this, what you said about the athleticism, this is an ongoing thing. This isn't run your 100 and you're done. You're running with or against other people, and it just keeps going, waiting for your moment or waiting for the other person to slip up so you
Yeah, I heard somebody describe it once. There was a PA announcer, Carl Rick, a couple of weeks ago, was doing the PA up in Wausau, and I liked what he said. He said it's like a soccer match where you're always running with sprinting intermingled. These fast sprints here and there, but you're always kind of moving. And it really is very much more of an endurance sport than I think the average person thinks. I always hear people say, well, they've got great balance. Well, that's like saying a baseball player can catch a baseball. They can all do that.
Yeah.
These pro rollers can literally drink a cup of coffee by themselves and roll the log. It's nothing to stay on top. But the endurance part of this, you don't really feel it or see it as much when you're watching this. But if you're up close to these rollers, they're huffing and puffing. It's really, really difficult to maintain what they're able to do.
Yeah.
And that's part of the strategy.
Yes.
Just to wear your opponent down.
Yep. Drag him down. And that part of what you say on the chopping and sawing side of things, we saw the springboard, which is kind of the longest running. Most of the rest of these are just an all-out sprint, wide open and let it go. This, as I like the analogy to soccer, but you're randomly getting the cross.
Kind of the same thing, yeah.
That's really,
Yeah, you're right about that.
And so if you're trying to outlast somebody, if you're waiting for your moment, you can't consciously choose to say, hey, I'm going to just pack a lunch out here, right? You don't want to sit out here for hours.
You can't do that, but a lot of rollers just tactically will try and not push themselves too hard. They'll play defense.
Okay.
They'll hang in there, they'll play defense, and maybe try and get it for the women down to the 4-log even, which is small and lightning quick, and then do damage. Kind of hang in, let your opponent wear themselves down. Others get aggressive and go after it. Now, both of these two rollers, I would say they both, as you can see here, are more in the I'm going to hang in here. I'm going to pitter-patter when I have to.
Yeah.
It's kind of like in a boxing match. Sometimes the boxers will kind of dance around, not get real aggressive. And that's what these two, they're preserving their strength here for maybe a big aggressive play coming up at some point.
So you have a 3-minute time limit on this log. They know that there is a time limit, but there's no other clock visual. Will they get an alert for 1 minute or 30 seconds remaining?
They won't.
That's it.
It'll happen. You'll hear time, and that'll be
that's
it.
done. Okay.
And it's done. So you kind of have to have an inner clock. Now, if they end up on the side after a lost fall when they both go back up, they may ask or it may come their way. That's legal.
Okay.
Just to know how much time is left. But right now, they've got no idea when. It's kind of like a soccer match. They don't know when it's coming.
Don't know when it's going to go. So.
Yeah, this is interesting. Both of them showing a lot of patience here. Like I said, Ellie on your left has impeccable control on that log. I know they all do, but she's probably in the upper tier of being able to hang in. Like I said before, she can climb back up when she's on her way down. And I think, honestly, in both cases there, they both were trying to preserve some energy, maybe even felt out that the other was trying to do the same thing, and just kind of rode it out. Hey, let's get to that forelog, and now I'll make my move. So I can promise you this, though. When they get on this forelog, it's not going to look like that.
No.
They're going to start cooking on that thing.
And the forelog is the 12-inch diameter log?
Much smaller, yes. Yep. Really, for the women, when they get to that forelog, there's no more pitter-pattering. It just moves too fast, so you either have to survive or make some offensive moves and try and get your opponent off. That's really where the entertainment value comes in for the women. They get to that 4, and you'll see it here coming up in a bit, especially with Davenport and Duffy. These two are really skilled, and you're going to see a circus act coming up. They're really, really good once they get to that forelog. They'll be smoking on that thing.
Awesome.
They'll be moving.
Ladies and gentlemen, at stand
That part of,
number 1,
yes,
from Levy,
watching the fight that way.
please welcome Jean-Pierre.
We are going to come back to the chopping and sawing stand with an underhand chop that we've seen before, but we are going to have what is called a handicapped chop. This is our Masters division. Athletes have been awarded a handicap based on their age and professional resume. So they're not going to start on go. There's going to be at least a 43-second head start.
The king of the Lumberjacks.
Melvin Lentz,
63. He will start 48 seconds.
63 years old, starting 48 seconds after the first mark. Mike Sling, Papa Sling,
He was 58 years young, and he will start 47 seconds back.
starting 40 seconds after go. Mike Slingerland, multi-generational competitor, here with his son
Senior Super Dave
and his
Stadler,
son's son.
82.
82-year-old Dave Stadler on stand 6.
What could be better than this?
Well,
I love it.
the history of it, you notice that we do not do this for the log rolling and the boom running. By the time people have gotten to be 80, they usually transition to the coaching role. But a great way to keep people involved, and Dave, a real treasure in the sport. So Dave is going to start on go, and Dave is going to give it the mustard.
Go. 1, 2,
And Dave is a guy who has been competing in this sport
5. I'll come back in.
for the history of for basically forever. They all have lathe-turned 12-inch pieces of wood. They've all got access to the same axes and saws. Dave is going to just keep whacking away. Pattern of drives and chips. At 82 years old,
13.
and he's got the front out of his log. He's going to carefully make his turn.
36. 37.
36,
38,
37. We're going to get the time back in.
41.
And you'll notice saw filer J.P. Mercier,
4.
Dave Engasser,
46.
a guy who has been
48.
ferociously in the sport.
50.
Everyone is away. And you'll notice they pick up that head start pretty quick. JP with an even turn, getting the bottom wood. Mel and Dave will turn right with him. Papa Sling right with him too, blowing big chips. Melvin Lentz, last American to win the big underhand in Sydney. And the guy just radiates intensity.
JP, Dave, and Mel.
Comes from a line of lumberjack athletes, but also loggers in Oregon. Some tough, hard-working folks. And Dave Stadler has got it to the short wood on the back of his log, and he is off. And a round of applause erupts from the crowd.
Well deserved.
Well deserved,
Pretty
absolutely.
amazing stuff.
It is awesome to see. And in these sports
All right, ladies and
where
gentlemen,
time marches on, it is great to see Dave here.
For women's log rolling, back to you, Sam.
We've gone down to the 4.
Still on our current match, Claudia Duffy rolling against
Yeah, we just had a draw the last fall, or a tie. They both went in. Judges went with a tie.
Ellie is currently
So as I said, this thing is going to move. No pitter-pattering anymore. Claudia Duffy on your right. Ellie Davenport, the 2 seed on your left.
Log sits lower in the water, smaller diameter, harder to grab with the foot. Does this help Ellie, you said defying gravity? If she can stay on that log even when it's deep,
there. It is 2 falls to 0. Ellie
Yeah, a little bit. I say a little bit because Claudia is pretty good in that respect as well. But this is really Ellie's kind of game here. You get to this 4-log with her, unless she's rolling somebody who is just incredible on it and just notably is really good at it. This is really her game because she's not going to outpower a lot of rollers.
Gotcha.
Ellie is so fast and so dynamic on that log. She doesn't have to outpower anybody.
Yeah.
Like I said, defensively, I don't want to rank them because there's 3 or 4 good ones, but she might be on defense as good as anybody in terms of she's in trouble,
Sure.
can climb herself back up. Somebody lands a big kick, she gets staggered, you think she's done,
Yeah.
and she just kind of hangs in there. So the smaller the log, the faster it goes, the better it is for a roller like Ellie because she's so good in terms of moving her feet. And putting it in layman's terms, her feet are as fast as any women in the field. That's her thing. So that's really where she wants to be on a log like this. This is where she's going to make her move.
So up 2 falls. This match is in. When you're up 2, does there become an urgency to avoid mistakes, to be more or less aggressive, ride the kind of?
I think for Claudia, less aggressive now on this log in particular. You want to hang in there. Maybe Ellie makes a misstep. Maybe she slips. You get a cheap one, and then you get some momentum back. If you're Claudia, I don't think you're going to be too aggressive, and clearly she's not being aggressive. Claudia is in defensive mode right now, just trying to hang in there, and Claudia's got the skills to do this. Sometimes you get a roller who just doesn't have the speed or the skill set, and they got to go for it.
Yeah.
But Claudia is good enough where she can hang in there and wait for Ellie to maybe make a mistake.
Stick and move a little bit.
Yep.
Changing direction. That's the other part. What you said about the sprints, just being on the log that's the entry to the event. Back and forth and back and forth. Going for a little bit of rock. Some whitewater erupts.
Yeah, you're seeing Ellie. See that? Ellie's down on that log. She escapes. Most rollers are in the water at that point.
A little bit of the hand wave. They're calling too close to the boom.
Yep. Yeah, no fall on that one. So there you saw it. I've talked about it before with Ellie Davenport. Most log rollers, when she struggled there a little bit and you saw her kind of slide off the log, 99% are in the water, even the good ones there. She climbed up, and then she did it again a second time there. So that's why Ellie is so tough on this log.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard enough to hang in there yourself. Then you get her on the side, and you're thinking, I have it, and she just climbs right back up.
Amazing.
So the judges make sure they do it soon enough so it isn't an interference.
In terms of preparation for this, we've talked about professional competitors. How many hours are these athletes putting in?
This time of year, they're rolling the good ones 4 or 5 hours every day.
Wow.
And a lot of them are lifting weights. And,
Yeah.
Ellie's case, she's a fantastic long-distance runner. She runs marathons
Yeah, she's a
regularly. Yep.
Ironman, am I thinking?
Yep, that's what Ellie does. And Claudia is a tremendous all-around athlete as well. We talked about her on the boom.
Yeah.
She's training all summer, many, many hours a day.
And that's why we see this battle.
So pick your favorite out there, folks. Cheer.
Yeah, really good quarterfinals matchup right here between these two. And again, both of them have been rolling very well as the season has progressed. Boy, very impressed with Claudia's ability to hang in there right now from an endurance standpoint. Not easy to do what she's doing, to hang in with Ellie.
And be constantly, to me, defensive. They're reacting the time it takes to respond to your competitor there.
Absolutely, no question.
Ellie's getting the choppy feet there, and she gathers. And there.
And there it is. Ellie Davenport winning the
That'll be the third.
over Claudia Duffy. Let's give a vote for
Yeah, bottom line is it's so tough to beat somebody that rarely falls off the log.
Yeah.
Claudia's trying her best here, but Ellie just has sticky feet. She really does. Short steps, and she's so good on this 4-log. And I think Claudia was trying to hang in there and just make it a longer match and wait for a mistake, and she didn't get it. Ellie just didn't make a mistake.
Yeah. I don't mean to laugh at it, what you say. It's hard to beat somebody who doesn't fall off the log, but that.
I mean, listen, if you get a powerful roller, they can drive Ellie off the log, but if you're just waiting for her to make a mistake, it almost never happens.
Yeah.
And like I said, with Ellie, even when she occasionally makes a misstep and goes down, she can climb up.
Yeah.
She defies physics almost the way she can climb back up there. So
Sticks to that log.
I thought Claudia did a great job though. She made that thing just kind of grind out for a long, long time. She just couldn't quite finish it off.
Outstanding. That'll take us to the end of the first half. We're going to take a 15-minute intermission. We're going to return to more events, more chopping, more sawing, and more log rolling, boom running. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to the Lumberjack Bowl for the second half of our Friday evening at the Lumberjack World Championships. My name is Adrian Flicht. It is my pleasure to be joined here in the booth with John, my log rolling and boom running expert. We're going to continue our traveling through space and time with another mix of chopping and sawing. John, can you talk about a little bit of what we saw on that side of the pond with the boom running and log rolling, get us started?
Well, I think the big one was Haley Miller knocking off Shauna Verstiga. Now, again, with Haley, we've kind of seen this coming for about a year now. You know, she finished in the top 5 here last year at Lumberjack World Championships, and this is really the Super Bowl for this sport, for log rolling and boom running. So this is the big one. Haley came in 5th. She's always had good skills. Even as an amateur, I remember watching Haley, and we all thought, she's going to be something. She's pretty good.
Yeah.
Really good athlete in other sports as well as a high school athlete, was really good. And she's kind of gradually gotten better and better, but hasn't broken through yet. But I think tonight is her night. To beat Shauna, a 4-time world champion, was pretty decisive in that win, was on her game, mixed it up nicely with her transitions. You know, it wasn't like she got lucky on a slip here or there. She looked good. So I think Haley Miller maybe is the story so far tonight, to beat Shauna and move on to the semifinals. It's going to be interesting to watch her next round. There's no question about that. Otherwise, I think on the boom, really the theme is, and it's a negative, but I think it could end up being a positive. Both Meredith Ingbertson, who's an all-time great on the boom, and last year's defending champion Claudia Duffy both ended up in the water. Now, they'll both get one more shot, so I think in the second hour here, that's going to be big. I think that's one thing that I'm watching for sure. How aggressive does Meredith get? How aggressive does Claudia get? Because now they can't play it safe. They only have one more shot. So it's kind of like a tennis player. You hit it into the net, okay, but now you only have one more shot. You got to be kind of careful, but not too careful. So I think those are the 3 things early on that stand out to me. Haley Miller with a huge win, kind of a breakthrough for her. And 2 of the better boom runners in the field both end up in the water here tonight. So in order to qualify for tomorrow night, they both need not great runs necessarily, but very good runs to be among the top 4 to get to tomorrow.
And get the chance where they will get another crack at the boom. So the field being wide open. I love it. On the chopping and sawing side, so far I think that we've seen what I expect. Good run by Matt Koger. Good run by Ben Hansen in the tree. Saw some strong performances in the hot saw, and we're going to see another look at a couple more of these disciplines. First of our second part of the evening is the 90-foot climb. Our first athletes were going with a sort of a traditional lineman's gaff, like people do service on the poles that you see in your neighborhood. These next ones are made just for racing, just for speed. So don't try this at home. The second part is that's 90 feet up in the doggone air, and time does not stop until they get back. The spikes have now moved up to the front of their foot to be a little bit more athletic. If you've ever been trained in sprinting, trying to be on the balls of your feet to use that calf, they're going to get a little bit more athletic approach, but it's still a 90-foot climb. The springboard is the big push on the chopping dock. On the climbing side, this is it. This is the marathon trip. And just when you get to the top and you get tired and you think you're done, you still have to get your behind all the way down.
A lot of people will tell you that's their favorite event.
Yes, by far. Or in particular, when people say, oh, I do timber sports, do lumberjack athlete stuff, people say, do you climb the 90? No.
No way.
No
right.
way. My mom would not sign that permission slip. But it is a majestic part of the Lumberjack Bowl here. You can see it for miles in any direction. And we are going to be seeing Sean Yokoyama and Caleb Graves, both names that you've seen before.
Yeah, really quick story. Last year, Caleb Graves won this event.
Yes.
Got down, had a hustle to the boom.
Yes.
Where he was also competing and won that.
Won it back to back.
Yeah, Caleb's a great all-around lumberjack athlete.
Tremendous, yes, absolutely. Athlete with a capital A. Yep. You'll see they're going to get an even start. Their buddies are going to pull the pad out so that their spikes don't go into the cushion, and they are going to tear into this. They've got a rope that they've been soaking in the pond. Good, even run by both of these. Sean a little leading on the Arctic Outdoors pole. Caleb a half a throw, and he's got a slip. Last throw, and he slaps that bell. Ouch. And Caleb Graves picks up the slack. What a run.
That is the 90-foot speed climb brought to you by Sealy's and Arctic Outdoors.
Sterling Hart and Brian Bartow, if you're listening, I miss seeing your faces up at the top of that pole. Athletic pursuit for these guys. And as John pointed out, last year Caleb very casually won that event, took off his spikes, ran over to the boom dock, and took off and ran across the boom and won it too. World Championship, getting one of those in your life is a milestone. Getting two at the same year, amazing. Getting them literally back to back, hard to beat. That is an accomplishment. We are going to change gears to now an athlete-powered saw. You saw the hot saw previously. This is the single buck. These saws are between 6 feet and about 6'6", hand-filed, polished, racing specific, just to go fast from the top of the log to the bottom. Athletes have marked out where they want to cut, getting that saw straight and even from the top to the bottom. And they are the reason that that saw moves. We got on stand one Matt Slingerland under watchful eye of his dad. Mark Boquin under the watchful eye of Adam Lethko. Matt Koger has got the eyes on Billy Cornelius, nursery manager. We have Maxime Mercier with father JP coming to us from Quebec. A great team, father-son, with no doubt one of the best saws in the field there. We've got Trevor Beaudry. Trevor Beaudry coming to us all the way from New Hampshire. Jesse Cutting applying the oil and wedge. On the far stand, Jason Lentz, the big man from West Virginia. Jason, when he hooks up on 6, can be devastating this event. Matt Slingerland on stand 1, recovering from an elbow injury, has not been sawing quite like himself. Keep an eye on stand 1 on the far end. If Jason makes a liar, we'll see. If Jason makes a liar out of me, we'll see him in the finals tomorrow.
Judges and time is ready.
The second on the stand are going to be telling him words of encouragement, keeping it even, and applying oil and wedge to the saw. Good start. They're trying to use every one of those teeth, cutting teeth, make a little bit of a noodle of vermicelli, and the raking teeth throw it to the ground. Matt Slingerland into the shortwood. Jason Lentz working hard. Matt with a hang-up, and he's, woo! Maxime may have snuck in there. Dead heat. Great run by those athletes. They also got to be pleased here. The sun coming down a little bit on the Lumberjack Bowl. Welcome respite from the sunshine of the day. Lathe turned white pine 20 inches in diameter. Again, this is wood that is wet and fresh, not like what you'd be using in your firewood. And around here, I assume hope people are burning oak and otherwise getting all those BTUs out. Good run by those athletes. JP will take that cookie back, that wood cookie back, look at the teeth and make sure that everything is even and fresh. The best saws, or the finest saws you see out here, will be retuned like a race car every 3 or 4 cuts to make sure those edges are as perfect as possible. We are going to shift gears off the chopping and sawing deck. We are going to go to the semifinal round, of the log rolling. We are going to see some familiar faces based on the wins previously. On the red dock, we've got Katie Burke in the tall black socks from De Pere, Wisconsin. And from Holman, Wisconsin, Livy Papadopoulos.
match will go on to tomorrow night's championship match.
The winner of this event, winner of these matches, will go on to the championship matches tomorrow, where it will be best of 5.
Wisconsin, Connor
They're going to steady the log and push out so no one has an advantage.
And he is rolling
Katie
against
Rick,
from
you saw go against Claire
Minnesota,
Keach
Anthony Polentini.
previously. A powerhouse versus the statistician, the fox and the hound, if you will.
The men are
We've got
starting on that number 1 15-inch log.
Anthony Polentini and a Mr. Birdsong, Connor Birdsong.
They also have 1 minute on that log.
Anthony has gotten rid of his large white hat. Cassidy, known for giving the boots of water, he needed a little protection on his person. Connor, not going to go the boot of water route. 2 bucking matches here. The athletes are faced opposite direction, so they're one forward as the other's back, and you'll see the exchange of the log, a little bit different give and take. In those running matches, when the athletes' feet are on the same side, you can pick up the speed much more quickly because both athletes are going together in the same direction. Anthony Polentini turning 21 next week with the lady. We do have time on the ladies' log.
That 1 minute is up. They're going to go to their number 3 log.
They're going to go to the 3 log, a 13-inch diameter log.
Get reset and push back out there.
As someone who stands on a size 12 shoe, the prospect of being on a 13-inch log that is floating in the water is one that scares me a little bit, frankly. We mentioned the spiked shoes earlier. You'll notice the wear pattern. These are cedar logs so that the spikes can dig in, and they're so positively buoyant. But they also then get used up, and a log will be retired after a certain number of races. Livy and Katie back to the dock.
Incredible athletes tying into those 90-foot poles.
We got 2 more athletes coming up on the 90 as well.
In fact, both of these guys have been on both sides of the pole.
Guys who've been bouncing around.
Incredible all-around athletes coming
Tristan Van Beek from Oregon and originally local.
Qualified in 3 of the chopping events, all of the chopping events in tomorrow night's show.
On the 90. We are just getting word over the airwaves that Cassidy has qualified in all 3 chops to compete in the finals, in addition to the rolling and climbing that he may yet qualify for. Livy and Katie are out. Connor and Anthony are out.
And these great log rolling matches are back out, as you said, on the small.
These athletes are just watching.
So there'll be a little more speed in the rotation.
On the smaller diameter log, faster transitions, less log out of the water. And then the time factor. As this goes by, we're getting some white water on the ladies' log. Livy Papadopoulos took Katie Rick for a run. Katie's log is rocking back and forth. They change. Connor Birdsong is in the first fall, and Katie Burke is in. So Livy Papadopoulos up 1-0. Polentini up 1-0. Cassidy Shear on the Zeeley's pole on the right. Tristan Van Beek, the Musketeer, on the Arctic Outdoors. They'll be going all the way to the top of the log and all the way to the bottom before time is called. Even start for these athletes. Spike, spike, throw, spike, spike, throw. They're basically skipping rope straight up this 90-foot pole. Tristan's taking a lead. This is where the log tapers. They're choking their rope down a little bit. They are dead even going into that last throw. Cassidy with a switch. Tristan knows Cass has got a good bailout. Tristan on the ground. Cassidy just behind him. Most importantly, both of those athletes safely down. Sometimes they'll go into that pad with some speed, and there will be a moment before the athletes gather themselves and get back out to normal life. Gentlemen's match is pushing off. Anthony Polentini in the white spikes. Connor Birdsong, number 41. Athlete number 41 in the black spikes.
Really getting heated up on the blue dock.
That's right. While we were climbing, we did have an update. Anthony Polentini
Back and
is currently
forth
one
on both
fall
matches.
Connor Birdsong, Anthony in the bandana out there. Livy Papadopoulos also
Anthony
had the
taking
first
control.
fall against Katie Burke on the
Connor
blue dot.
Birdsong in the second time.
Now it is 2-0 on the blue dot.
Anthony Polentini up 2-0.
All right, we do have a safety call on the red dock. They're going to re-grab
They
the ball,
adjusted
push back out.
on the red dock. Too close to obstructions. We're back live on the red dock.
Livy currently up 1 fall over Katie. An excellent recovery by Katie Burke.
The foot speed in the transition here. Katie Burke,
Livy's starting to be very aggressive.
hands waving, and she's in. Livy Papadopoulos puts Katie Burke in the water, taking a 2-0 lead.
Katie Burke in our semifinals women's log rolling match.
As John mentioned before, the part of this, you're balancing on a log that another person is talking to. If you've ever been in a canoe with someone you love, it's sometimes hard to just keep the canoe from rocking side to side. All you got is your feet on the log. This is amazing. This is some good work happening there by those ladies. The gentleman, Anthony Polentini, with a 2-fall lead, going to 3 falls, best out of 5.
You can really see it on the men on that smaller log, getting close to that center log.
A lot of white water, back and forth.
White water out there, folks.
Change direction, he gathers it. Draws it back deep in the water. They're getting halfway around that log. Oh! Connor Birdsong puts Anthony Polentini in the water.
A little bit of a comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. Been here for years. Connor Birdsong helping the log back to the stage. The white water looked like he saw his moment.
Livy Papadopoulos currently 2 falls to 0.
Ladies match pushing out. Livy Papadopoulos up 2 on Katie Burke.
So pick your
Katie Burke with the tall black socks. Livy Papadopoulos living and breathing the sport. Katie Rick, too, promoting events, dedicating time with coaching, and just putting the time in on the log. Professional athletes in every sense. The investment that both these gentlemen and ladies are making to be here on the biggest stage at the Lumberjack World Championships as we sit on the eve of Championship Saturday. The back and forth, the give and take.
Pushing back out. 2 falls to 1. Anthony Polentini
Livy
over Connor
working
Birdsong.
both sides. To me, that part of the geometry, and she speeds up.
Anthony wins the match with that third
Livy
fall.
Papadopoulos with a fist pump. Katie Burke in the water. She will advance
And we have a
to the
completed
championship.
match on the women's stock as well. Livy Papadopoulos, both
And Anthony Polentini
and Livy will be
putting
moving on
Connor
to
Birdsong
tomorrow
in
night's
to take
championship
his
log
win.
rolling match. And we're going to find out who their opponents
And we
are
will find out who
tonight.
they will be competing against momentarily.
That is women's log rolling.
Anthony with a jab there.
Lumberjack shows and men's log rolling brought to you by.
To me, the dancing part of this, watching, waiting for your partner, seeing the weakness and knowing when to take the risk. Thousands upon thousands of hours, just outstanding work by those folks.
Hey, you know, it's a little bit of a chess match. That's really what it is out there. And watching Anthony out there, he loses the fall, very composed. Kind of had a game plan, I think, going back into that 4th fall. Knew what he wanted to do. And as good as all of them are at this level for sure, Anthony seems to play a game of chess while maybe some others are playing checkers. You know, his brain is a couple of steps ahead. He's fast, he's strong, he does everything well, but most of them are in the same stratosphere in that regard. But he always seems to be just a step or two ahead in terms of his thinking and the way he's wired out there. And again, Anthony's been pretty untouchable the last calendar year. He did lose last week. Tanner Hallett, who's a world champion in his own right, beat him. So who knows if those will be the top 2. But Anthony is rolling at a very, very high level right now. No question about it.
Well, you say the composure, the strategy, and then having the skills to manifest. It's one thing to have a game plan, but being able to then execute your game plan.
Well, and with Anthony, that's the thing. And I've talked about a lot of these rollers. Again, some of them have a great back step. Some of them can kick really well. Some of them are quick and small. Some are big and strong. He's all of the above. You know, there comes a point where when a guy, I don't know, goes onto a golf course, he drives the ball better, chips it better, and putts it better. it's hard to beat that guy. That's Tiger Woods 20 years ago.
Yes.
And at this level in this sport, at least for right now, that's Anthony Palantini.
Yeah, it's Palantini. Wow. So we've got.
Although one guy that's pretty close to that would be Tanner Hallett.
Would be Tanner. So interesting. We're going to have a rematch of last week's championships or brother on brother in the gentlemen's match. We're going to come back to the chopping and sawing discipline for the Jack and Jill sawing. Now we've got a Jack competitor and a Jill competitor. Some of these teams are husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend. Some of it is the luck of the draw about who's free and who's not traveling with their companions. We have Dave Jewett and Lindsey Down on 6 world champions and record holders. We got Matt Koger and Kate Witkowski. Matt was out of commission a couple weeks ago. I got to make a cut with Kate. There's a reason that I'm in the booth right now and Matt is on the stage. Martha and Papa Sling, Nancy and Mike Sullivan. One cut straight down through lathe turned White Pine. The cadence 1 and 6, it's even, and 2 is right with him. To my ear, it was 1. One of the coolest lumberjack sport memories that I've ever had the privilege to have. Being on that stage during the men's single buck, you feel all of those cookies land nearly at once. 6 big chunks of wood hitting the stage. That should make 6 individual noises. It doesn't even sound like a drum roll. It sounds like one single thump. I think it was Matt and Kate that we'll get a chance to see tomorrow, but a good race in the Jack and Jill sawing. We're going to go back across the pond to the 90. We've got final heat. Why there would be more than only 2 guys who want to go up that pole, I don't know. But we will be transitioning back to the 90.
He doesn't have another climber to listen to when he's up there.
Tanner and Sam, 2 of our tallest athletes in the men's log roll, going head to head. It's very interesting. Long lever versus long lever. Tanner put Sam in. Was there a fall before that, or was that the first?
Yeah, there
fall?
was. That tied at 1 right there. Sam got one on him earlier.
Okay.
So Sam has turned this into a match, no question about it. And I should mention this, too. We haven't talked a lot about it. Last year, Sam, a little bit surprisingly, made a run to the finals.
Yeah.
He took his brother Anthony and then lost in the finals. But Sam was a rookie last year. I don't think a lot of people were expecting much at that stage. Well, now he's got a target on his back, and he's rolled well this year. He's had multiple fourth-place finishes. He hasn't been better than that, but Sam's tough. And I was talking to a couple of the guys about this. Because of Sam's length, his front step is pretty difficult to stop. You know, he gets that thing going, the long levers again, can be very, very difficult. Tanner has been doing this a lot longer. Tanner won 6 amateur world titles. He won a pro world title. And Tanner was ranked #1 in the world for a long time before Anthony took it over. So I still think Tanner's the favorite here, but let's give Sam some credit. He got that first fall. He did it last year, and Sam has certainly turned this into a good match.
May sneak in. We got another heat of the 90 going. Chet Isaacson nearly up, putting the spike in. He makes his last throw.
Here he comes, folks. Cheer him on.
He'll go kind of the wild octopus down, not going to the full-on hip bail, but he is back down safely.
Let's go, baby.
A good run there. So we're at a fall apiece in the men's match.
And Tanner just got one to go up 2-1.
Tanner's up
Very close call, and I think the judges got that one right. Very close call. So 2-1, Tanner's on top. And we got the semifinal match here on the women's side. And again, Haley Miller on your left has never gotten this far ever in a pro tournament.
Wow.
And she's taken on a 14-time professional winner and a former world champ, Ellie Davenport, on the right. And be interesting to see what happens on this call. Looks like Haley got it.
All right, we have a draw on the women's
Nope.
side.
No, it's going to be a draw.
Call a draw.
Is currently 2.
Yeah, I think one judge gave it to Haley, but the other 2 went draw. So Well, I'm pausing here because now I'm wondering if they did give it to Miller.
Yeah, I'm interested.
We'll have to figure that out, but a really close fall there that we just saw. And what I was saying about Haley Miller is she has been kind of knocking on the door for a while now.
Yeah.
Again, very skilled roller. I would say more of a finesse roller very early in her career, but she's added some power. And I'll tell you what, I think Ellie probably is your favorite to win this match, but I think Haley could certainly do it over on the women's side. And with the men here, Tanner on your left, he's up 2-1.
Bunch of whitewater after they study that log, and Tanner gets.
Well, that's the heart of a champion right there. Tanner Hallett, 2018 world champ. He was the #1 ranked roller for about a year and a half. Anthony Paolantini has kind of taken that over, and I think Tanner's saying, all right, let's see if we can maybe change that up. He got a big win last week, Tanner did. Takes out a really good roller, Sam Paolantini, and we're going to get Anthony and Tanner Hallett in the finals tomorrow night.
Being very aggressive against Haley Miller. Ellie Davenport wins that match. She will also.
And we missed that fall earlier on, but there you go. Ellie able to finish this off. So really we're seeing this thing play out. We have the top 2 seeds in the men in the finals tomorrow night, and with this fall right here, you watch Miller on the left trying to hang in, hang on, and Ellie's just kind of going back and forth playing with her, and now she picks her spot, and a quick snap on the front step gets her right in. So that's Ellie using her experience. That's somebody who's been doing this for almost a decade now at the pro level.
Yeah.
Use her experience there. So all the top 2 seeds matching up for both the men and the women tomorrow night.
Meeting in the finals, as you'd hope.
As you'd hope.
Great run.
Straight chalk.
Yeah, that. What you say about the experience there, Ellie, with the miles, that the first time that Haley was this deep in a tournament. As an experienced roller, are you buying that? Are you thinking about that in your mind, or the old tricks? I guess I would say.
I think it's hard not to. For Miller in that situation, I mean, she's down there probably saying to herself, "Hey, it's like any day.
Yep.
I'm going to go down here." Haley's a Hayward native, so she grew up rolling here as a little kid.
Yeah.
And was an amateur, really, really highly decorated amateur. So she's done it here a lot, but it's different when there's 3,000 or 4,000 people and a broadcast going on.
Yes.
And I'm sure she was thinking about it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think for Haley Miller, nice breakthrough to get to the semifinals. She'll go to the back bracket now where she can still win 3rd place.
Yeah.
And my guess is she'll go to that back bracket with a lot of confidence tomorrow.
With a
Yeah,
confidence.
they'll do the back bracket in the morning tomorrow. Then they'll get a 3-4 match tomorrow night.
In the show.
And the championship in the show later tomorrow night. Yep.
Awesome. So she's not done. To me, great opportunity.
Not at all, no.
And as you said, big change, even if you've grown up here. We're sitting in front of a full house, to my eye. Beautiful renovations here. We got new bleachers in the Lumberjack Bowl. Safe and comfortable seating, packed to the brim on this beautiful Friday evening. There's a lot of inquiring eyes looking over your shoulder. Easy to start hearing voices or hearing feet.
Well, on top of that, you got to roll Ellie Davenport, too.
Yes.
That's the tough part. And then you tack on some of those intangibles you mentioned. And I think what Ellie really did there, just watching bits and pieces of that match, we were watching both at the same time, so we didn't see every inch of it. But I think Ellie kind of figured her out a little bit, and Ellie was not overly aggressive there. You could see she was going front step, back step, kind of transitioning back and forth, trying to get Haley to think and kind of pick a spot. And I think Haley just had a hard time keeping up with that, sort of lost control, if you will.
Yeah.
And Ellie just picked a spot, used her experience, and knocked her right in.
Put it in. That's the mental side of it. It is a big weekend, but also a long weekend. This is a second day athletes have been in their events. The chance to race tomorrow, the athletes you'll see on the stream tomorrow, on the broadcast tomorrow, have been here in the sun, cutting logs, rolling, climbing for 3 full days.
And one more thing really quickly. I should correct myself. Last year, Haley Miller did make it to the semis, lost, finished 5th in the back bracket.
In the back, okay.
So, but still, to get to this point and face somebody this good, it's not easy.
Yeah, that's a big.
It's really not easy. It's not easy to get through somebody like that. But
yeah,
give her credit.
Absolutely.
Really nice run by Miller tonight. We'll see what she does in the back bracket. And Ellie Davenport headed to the finals for the 5th time in her career.
So in the ladies' finals, it will be Ellie and Livy Papadopoulos. In the gentlemen's finals, it will be Anthony Paolantini and Tanner Hallett.
Like I said, straight chalk again.
Yes, this
4 of the best.
a good run. And is this going to be a rematch of the 21.
This will be a rematch of the 2018 finals,
18 finals.
where Tanner won.
Okay.
No, I stand corrected. 2018, Tanner won. The following year, they faced each other. Anthony won.
Okay.
So the one time they faced off in the finals, Anthony did win it.
Okay.
These guys in the light blue t-shirts down here,
Well, should be more good rolling. Again, some top-tier performance here. We are going to be coming back to the chopping and sawing stage for the ladies single buck. We have a distinguished field in terms of record holders, defending champions, and previous champions. Stephanie Node down on stage 1, coming to us from Canada. She has been away a couple of years, an athlete of the top of the highest tier, who's converted to timber sports. Should be putting down a smoking fast time here in the ladies single. Stand 2, we've got Lindsay Down, originally a world champion at 16 years old, and has been staying at the top of the sport since then. Aaron Lavoie, athlete, entrepreneur, traveler, and just hard-working son of a gun here on Station 3. We got Hannah Quigley coming to us from New York, a young lady who finished on the podium at the national championships last year, continuing the long run here of wood chopping for the extended week. Previous national champion Martha King from Chadds Ford, Pennsylvania. And on the far stand, number 65, Andrea Card from California. She works in the wineries in California and always seems to be smiling. And if I lived in California and was hanging out at wineries all the time, that's not a bad gig.
No, it's not. Not at all.
So we'll see the same configuration. One assistant, 1 second it is called on the log, spraying a lubricant to keep the chips from packing up in the space between the teeth. And athletes are going to be trying to use every one of those teeth. If you look at Martha King on stand 5, not a very big competitor, but athlete in every stretch. She will be using from the tip of her toes to the tip of her nose. Look at her to sneak up here. That being said, previous many-time world champion Lindsay Down on 2, hard to bet against. They made a starting cut to get those teeth in so they can start pulling as hard and as fast on the saw as they want to, as quickly as possible. Notice some different cadences depending on what the athletes or how the saw likes the wood. This is white pine that we've got on the stage. Athletes will have a couple different saws for single buck and white pine based on the wood condition. The day you'll come up to the stage at the beginning and see the rings, see the color, and decide which tool to pull from your quiver. Keep an eye on stand 2. Lindsay has ripped off a couple smoking single cuts this year. Sawing partner and sawing wizard himself, Dave Jewett. She's hung up on the second stroke. Most of these saws are like in the wood. Stephanie Node with JP Mercier, you know she's got a great saw on that piece of wood. Hannah, holy Moses. Martha and Aaron, they were in a dead heat last week at the national championships. Martha King with a strong run. Look to see those two ladies again tomorrow with the World Championship on the line.
Brought to you by Northern Lakes Cooperative, located on Highway 63 in Hayward with 4 stores.
I'm somewhat excited here, John. We've had a little bit of a squeeze with the COVID restrictions and the travel restrictions. World Championships, we've got a whole bevy of flags at the end of the arena. I'm pleased to announce we have an athlete from the Czech Republic in the field this evening.
Thank you.
That comes into play more with chopping and sawing. Am I missing any rolling and boom running athletes that are from?
No.
It's Canada. No, it's
Canada and the U.S. Period. Yep. But I will say this: to have somebody here from the Czech Republic, pretty impressive in terms of where we've been. And I was wondering about this before all of it started this year, where will the numbers be,
Yeah.
internationally speaking? Because even though things have been relaxed here,
Yes.
that hasn't been the case around the rest of the world. And, of course, last year we saw the numbers were way down internationally here. And, yeah, it's tough because it's an international event. It really is.
Yeah.
But it's good to see those numbers maybe not be where they once were, but starting to get back up there again.
Turning dial back in. Normally good contingent from New Zealand and Australia.
Sure.
On the chopping and sawing side, Lawrence O'Toole Jr., Lawrence O'Toole Sr., Miss Your Smiling Faces, Hurricane Gerald coming to us as well. Really hope that things will allow to see your faces in the future. Good luck in your competitions, and congratulations, Lawrence, giving this the marriage celebration type time. Big milestone for that man.
Well, another guy, I mean, we like to claim him, but you got John Hughes down there.
Yes.
Mike in New Zealand as well, right?
Yes, yes.
I mean, we claim him now. He's
Yes.
one of us, but you hear that classic voice, that New Zealand accent you hear every single year.
Every year, yes.
Our buddy John Hughes down there getting it done.
Yep. John out in the sun working hard, and as you said, the Mad Kiwi
Yes, indeed.
making the rounds. John, as you said, a smiling face and long-standing voice in the sport, always generous with his time. We are going to be coming back to the chopping and sawing stage for the men's underhand, a 14-inch piece of lathe-turned aspen. This is one of the biggest logs that will get cut in competition, and sort of practically or functionally the limit. Down in Australia, the big logs, that's why it is the Wimbledon of wood chopping. But a 14-inch log takes a different preparation or attention to get the cut ripped off. We've seen some great history here. Jason Wynyard, David Bolstead, Dion Lane putting down some fast cuts.
Boy, how many titles did Jason Wynyard win over his time? My
Yes.
gosh, it was double digits, wasn't it?
Yes, and titles and records. That was one of the great in terms of haymakers. He and David Bolstead, their impact as axemen, and rest in peace, David.
Jason with that presence too.
Yes. David, with Jason, pleased to see him back making the rounds, recovering well and with an axe in his hand. I in this heat am going to be keeping an eye on Matt Koger. Matt has been dialed. Matt has been preparing the laser focus. He is a guy who's real steady, but I think that like a locomotive, you start building steam and then you get out of the way. I think that he's a guy in the underhand looking to make a statement. We've got Matthias Klima on one from the Czech Republic. This is not the right. We've got, we've adjusted some where these folks are.
From Sazovo, please welcome Matthias Klima.
It is Matthias Klima on one. We've got all the way
Stand two from North Fork, California.
from California. We've got Nate Hodges. On stand number 3 from Diana West, from West Virginia, we got Matt Koger. On stand number 4, coming to us from Missouri, Aaron Hovis, former collegiate competitor. From Tennessee, we got Logan Hawks making a good run here on Friday. And from New Hampshire, Jesse Cutting, guy who came up through the collegiate ranks, tall, lanky guy. Talk about big levers. I was going to say, I feel like we should be playing some basketball or some volleyball after this. We got some athletes.
You walk around here every once in a while and you're looking up quite a bit.
Yeah, some big folk.
Between some of the log rollers and some of these guys.
Got a clean start to my ear. Pattern of drives and chips. Matt Koger is doing work. Big slabs. He's putting the blows in. He's into the short wood and turns. He's going to turn right with Matthias. Matt doesn't cut short fronts. He's looking for the drive already, and it's off. Matt Koger with a vapor trail behind that axe. Nate Hodges with the hopping dismount. Nate Hodges is one of those guys who's always, he's about 3 cups of coffee at all times, just zooming. Good heat. Head judge DJ Aderman is going to come down the line, make sure and check the footholds were not cut, slab nails were in, and give us the thumbs up. Good run by Matt Koger.
Forward to helping you and your family. A board-certified orthopedic
I feel, John, like it's sometimes like watching World's Strongest Man. You don't have a regular person for scale, and so we can tell you that Sam is 6'7" or Tanner is 6'7", and you can look across the pond and say, whatever.
Right.
We got
That's what happens. You don't have that scale, and you look at some of these guys down here that are chopping, and the difference here is you might not get a 6'7", but you might get a 6'3", 230 or 240, and the forearms and the size of these guys, very impressive.
Yep,
it really is, and they're like you said, they're all big. You don't have a scale to really base it on, but when you see these guys up front, they are large. The wrists, the forearms.
Yep.
Got some powerhouses down there. And like we say, and you know the sport so well, this always gets dismissed, the technique.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to think, well, if you get any bigger, strong guy, we've seen NFL players try and do this.
Yes.
They can't even come close to doing what these guys do because the technique is such a big part of it.
Yes. As you said, consistently, the right tool placed in the right spot. It is exciting. If you'd like to see in person, we run at the end of July here, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Great opportunity to enjoy the North Woods and the greater Hayward community. We're going to shift gears here to the gentlemen's boom run. They're going to get the opportunity to run the other boom that they did not run last night. Who's the favorite in this field?
Anthony is certainly in the conversation. You look at him on the left there, he's won this event once, but Cameron Pilgrim on your right here is a very interesting candidate in that he wasn't a guy who was in the mix 3 or 4 years ago. He's worked at this event, he's gotten better at it, and Cameron ran a race last night in qualifying that was electric. And I think he opened some eyes. So I think Cameron's going to be right in this thing this year. His times have been very, very good. But I think Anthony is one of 2 or 3 that has a real shot to win it.
Okay.
Go. And they're off racing across Lumberjack Bowl. Both absolutely fine.
Great turn.
Anthony right behind him.
Arms flailing.
Cameron in the drink.
Cameron Pilgrim in. Anthony with a clean run. And he is running right out to the river deck.
Well, Cameron was a good log and a half ahead of Anthony there.
Yes.
He was running a very good race, Cameron was. And if you see it right here, I mean, look at this. He's at least a log and a half ahead.
Yes.
Hits the side right there.
Yep.
And just couldn't control it.
Couldn't gather. That, to me, in terms of an athletic approach or athletic outcome, it's one thing to stay on the center and keep it together. The athletes who can get off center and still get their next step, spin their hips enough to get back on line, because they're fighting these logs front to back and the rotation. Got Tanner Hallett.
Normally you don't have big, lanky, strong guys succeed in this event. 2 of the biggest guys in this event this year right here.
Yes.
And they're both pretty good.
And yeah.
Go.
There they go, folks.
Tanner covering miles with every stride. Losing a little steam in. Cassidy in. Cassidy been busy.
Tanner taking his time trying to get
He's got it together and turned that, and he's clean. Cassidy Shear taking a swim again.
chance to jump back up on that boom.
Well, it looks like Cassidy's going to try and finish this thing off.
I also feel, and I respect and admire.
Yeah, he can throw in the white towel if he wants. He just walk in and say that's it. Listen, these 2 guys are great athletes. I mean, Tanner is one of the very best log rollers out here. Cassidy might be the best all-around lumberjack in the facility right now.
Yes, absolutely.
But it would be a long shot for either one of them to qualify for tomorrow night. They're good boom runners.
Yes.
But the level you're seeing from Anthony, I think Cameron could have a good one in him. Sam Felton's another one that's phenomenal.
Yes.
And those guys, I think, are going to be, really the ones to look out for here. But we'll see. Sometimes you get a surprise.
That's why they run the race.
Watch on the left here. You're going to see some serious speed.
Pick your favorite cheer the line, folks.
Unbelievable. A brilliant cadence by both guys.
Both with the clean run down
Gee, a big wipeout. Charlie Fenton, like he was shot out of a cannon. And back on the log, lickety split.
Well, I'll tell you what, you don't see Charlie fall much.
No, absolutely.
Very, very rarely does he fall, and we've seen it a lot. Cameron is one of the best guys out here. He fell. Charlie just fell. On the women's side, we see Meredith and Claudia both fall, so
Yes.
they're going to have to make up for it on their second run. I'm not sure I can remember a year where so many top-end boom runners have fallen on their first shot.
Of taking the spill, and as you said, leaving the door open. That part of it, if
Makes
somebody
me
can put it together.
wonder if something's going on out there. If the wind is a little bit of a factor here, I'm not sure, but could be a coincidence. But we're seeing a lot of really good boom runners go down.
We got Devin Blair coming out with a headband from Winter.
I think I said Sam Felton before, didn't I? I meant Charlie. That's his brother, Sam,
yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Caleb Graves.
Now, Caleb Graves, on your right, is another one of these guys that has a real shot to win this thing. He won it last year, and look for a really good run out of him. I'm just going law of averages now. I can't see another top-flight boom runner falling again.
No. And after strong performances in his other disciplines, hopefully he can keep that wave riding. Good start. It's amazing. Barely any rotation in either of those logs. A little bit of a bob, but no spin. Devin is in. Caleb is picking up speed, and he's dry.
That's a good run. That's a good run. And realistically, that's probably going to get him to tomorrow night. That's all he's looking to do. Crack the top four, and then tomorrow night, take your chance.
And that's where, what you say tomorrow, wide open. Nothing left to hold back. Watching those races and those wipeouts to me is amazing. This will take us to our final heat of the men's boom run. Andrew Serpico from Hudson, Wisconsin, on the boom closest to the blue stage. And we got Connor Birdsong on the red boom.
Yeah, Connor's a guy that's gotten a lot better the last couple of years on the boom. I mentioned before he was a college track standout. And he's got great running skills, but the boom skills have improved the last couple of years. So he'll be interesting to watch over on the left.
So in addition to what people might expect, normal fitness type training, these athletes are running booms at home.
Oh, yeah.
That's the preparation.
Absolutely.
Connor ahead at the turn.
Connor's around. Andrew right behind him. Connor's in the drink. Andrew's in the drink.
Both out for a swim. A one hop back and lob. Amazing. Seamlessly back into the old Cedar Rodeo. Losing speed. Oh.
Thought he was going to make it.
Yes.
One more chance here, folks. Cheer him on.
Round of applause going to get him back onto the stage.
Let's give all of our boom runner men a
And that will close the men's boom for this evening.
Men's Boom Run brought to you by Indec Energy and Griller's Gold. Griller's Gold Premium Barbecue.
So we are going to come back to the chopping and sawing stage for a bit of a medley of sorts. We are going to put it all together. We are going to get a sample of every discipline except the hot saw, where we're going to have a relay event.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah,
this is kind of the fun cherry on top every single night.
I think so, and in particular, the opportunity to cut in this is based on your performance the preceding year. So it is invitation only. You don't get to sign up for this. You get to qualify in and get this chance. And so we're going to start on that side. Climb. I always get the order of the boom run. It's climb, ladies boom, men's boom, or
I think it's climb, boom on one end, then we get the chop,
yep,
then boom back the other way.
Boom, boom, chop, saw, chop. It's
now you got me thinking.
Yeah, I say no. I've crossed myself up. So it is going to be it is a seeded and selected team based on performance on previous events. And so we're going to start with the climb. When the climber gets down, a boom runner standing on the chopping and sawing stage is going to run across the boom, tag in the boom runner who's going to come back. When they get to this side, they're going to start the underhand, then they're going to go single, and it's going to finish with the standing block,
Just pulling everything together at the end of the night is an amazing feeling.
which is fun. And
meeting other people.
up to this point, there's a lot of athletes you're racing for yourself. You got a big responsibility. If somebody gives you a lead, to hold the lead. If somebody gives you a short draw, if you make up and give somebody the lead, that's a big push too.
So what we're going to see.
So we've got Team Zaleski versus Team King. The ladies are the captains. So anchoring Team Zaleski, Nancy Zaleski on the single buck, an event that she is a world record holder and champion in. We've got Tristan Van Beek on the climb, Katie Burke on the ladies boom, Charlie Fenton men's boom, Mark Boquin on the men's underhand, and Matt Sling, Little Sling, on the standing block. On Team King, Martha King, we got Martha anchoring on the single, Caleb Graves on the 60-foot climb, Ellie Davenport on the ladies boom, Shane Burns on the men's boom, and Jason Lentz on the standing, which is the anchor.
With an axe, it tends to make you want to work a little harder.
This is going to be quick,
All of these competitors
and this also is a chance. This is not just a recreational event, the chance to earn points.
Yeah, no question. No doubt about it.
And as you said, great way to finish up the day. The sun is coming gently across the bowl.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I can smell the vendors in the arena.
the red team
It's been a beautiful day here.
in order of appearance. The 60-foot speed climber, Tristan Van Beek. Women's boom runner, Katie Burke.
Tristan and Caleb up.
Men's boom
They'll go head to head,
runner, Fenton,
and it will be literally back and forth crisscrossing the bowl.
Boquin. Single buck Sawyer.
Mark Boquin coming to us from New York.
And standing block
A great
Chopper.
follow on social media. He and Turbo Tom have made,
On the blue team,
they do good work.
King,
They do good work.
60-foot speed climber, Caleb Graves.
So it's not just any one event.
Ellie
And
Davenport.
where I've seen things get squirrely, if somebody gets in the water on the boom, that's where things can go awry.
Chopper,
But
You kind of have to run a safe boom. Find a
Yes.
way to get across.
Martha,
You don't have to do it in record-breaking time, but you don't want to fall in.
yep,
Jason.
just trying to get over and keep it dry.
Now in this competition, we take 4 teams.
So Jason and Maddie,
And the 2
that's a good
fastest
run
times advance to the finals tomorrow.
in the standing. In the underhand, we got Trevor Beaudry. Trevor was playing a little Fire Marshal Bill with his hot saw earlier in the season. Glad to see him here. So we're going to start across the pond with the climb. Caleb and Tristan, they're off even. They're going to make the climb up to the 60. Caleb pulling away.
Caleb on the black
Caleb
ball.
is about 2 throws, 3 throws ahead.
Bail.
He bails, kick. Tristan with the hip bail. They're both down.
Doing the boom run. Ellie and Katie.
Ellie about 3 logs ahead of Katie.
Shane. And
Shane
Sam
Burns with the lead on Charlie.
As soon as they hit the dock,
Shane is in the pond.
Shane, the underhand.
Charlie up. Boquin into the foot underhand. He's a big, angry man, and he is thumping on that. As you said, John, the consistency of placement to get the chips out, get the axe in, and not waste time. Trevor Beaudry putting the shockwaves to it. He'll make the turn, and he's closing with the cadence. He's got the turbo on. He's driving the log down. He's got it shaking. He's got it off. So Nancy's into the short wood and got about 1/3 of a log head start on Martha. Martha won the single, qualified 1 in the single today. Nancy with the cookie down. Sling Boy,
The standing block is the ankle for
he's got about 2 rotations in. He's got 8. He's putting his drives in. Jason in. He's not going to take too many. He's reaching down and coming from the sky. Sling Boy
coming around.
driving already. He's got that block shaking. Jason 2 blows into the back. And Maddie Sling will take the win for Team Zaleski. And Jason had to keep the coals rolling because their total times are going to be ranked against the 2 teams that ran yesterday.
Oh, fantastic finish here, huh?
Yeah, a dead heat, a good run. Came down to the wet run on the men's boom.
Tomorrow. Have a great evening.
Seeing a little bit of the feedback. Thank you for joining us for the Friday evening show. We'll be seeing championship Saturday tomorrow. World champions at the conclusion of every single event. Thank you, John, for your wisdom and your insights.
You got it. Great to be here.
Thank you for attending.